What happens when a group of paranormal investigators start a conversation? You get Ghost of the Coast Paranormal, the podcast. Tales of the dead, the bizarre, and all things supernatural. Join us now as we discuss the hauntings of the Black Dahlia. Hi, and welcome back to Ghost of the Coast Paranormal, the podcast. I'm Erin.
I'm Linnea.
I'm Deborah.
And there we go. We got it right this time. Woo!
Hey.
Thank you.
All right. So we are talking about the hauntings, plural, of the Black Dahlia. Now, I know the bare bones of this case. I know of the person, but I don't know to the extent.
Okay. What about you, Deborah?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, I'm familiar.
Okay. How familiar are you?
Yes.
So, is it kind of like you are just familiar with the murder and that's it, no further? Or do you know anything about any hauntings, Deborah? Anything about locations?
The hauntings part of it, no.
Okay, good then. Good. We got some fresh meat. Let's go.
Well,
Take it away.
Well, let's start first with talking a little bit about who the Black Dahlia is. So, the Black Dahlia is Elizabeth Short, was born July 29th, 1924, and she died on January either 14th or 15th, because it's an unsolved case, in 1947. She was an American woman found murdered in the Leimert Park neighborhood of Los Angeles, California, on January 15th, 1947. Her case became highly publicized owing to the gruesome nature of the crime, which included the mutilation of her corpse, which was bisected at the waist. A native of Boston, Short spent her early life in New England and Florida before relocating to California, where her father lived. It is commonly held that she was an aspiring actress, though she had no known acting credits or jobs during her time in Los Angeles. She would acquire the nickname of the Black Dahlia, as newspapers of the period often nicknamed particularly lurid crimes. The term may have originated from a film noir murder mystery, The Blue Dahlia, in 1946. After the discovery of her body, the Los Angeles Police Department began an extensive investigation that produced over 150 suspects, but yielded no arrest. 150 suspects and no arrest. What do you think about that?
That, and it's still not solved today.
Still not solved to this day. They have a prime suspect, but it's not even been proven and he's dead. But we'll get into that. So relocation to California. In late 1942, Short's mother received a letter of apology from her presumed deceased husband, which revealed that he was in fact alive and had started a new life in California. In December, at age 18, Short relocated to Vallejo, California, to live with her father, whom she had not seen since age 6. At the time, he was working at the nearby Mare Island Naval Shipyard on San Francisco Bay. Arguments between Short and her father led to her moving out in January of 1943. She took a job at the Base Exchange at Camp Cook, which is now Vandenberg Space Force Base near Lompoc, maybe? Lompoc. Briefly living with a U.S. Army Air Force sergeant who reportedly abused her. She left Lompoc in mid-1943 and moved to Santa Barbara, where she was arrested on September 23, 1943, for drinking at a local bar while underage. And if you go online, you can see her mugshot there, and we can include that in the credits. Let's see. So while in Florida, Short met Major Matthew Michael Gordon Jr., a decorated Army Air Force officer of the 2nd Air Commando Group, who was training for deployment to Southeast Asian Theater of World War II. Short later told friends that Gordon had written to propose marriage while he was recovering from injuries from a plane crash in India. She accepted his offer, but Gordon died in a second crash on August 10th, 1945. Short's sister Dorothea also served in World War II and was assigned to decode Japanese messages. In July 1946, Short relocated to Los Angeles to visit Army Air Force Lieutenant Joseph Gordon Fickling, an acquaintance from Florida. So she liked her men in uniform.
Yeah.
Um, Short spent the last 6 months of her life in Southern California, mostly in the Los Angeles area. Shortly before her death, she had been working as a waitress and rented a room behind the Florentine Gardens nightclub on Hollywood Boulevard. She has been variously described and depicted as an aspiring or would-be actress. According to some sources, she did in fact have aspirations to be a film star, though she had no known acting jobs or credits. Prior to her murder, on January 9th, 1947, Short returned to her home in Los Angeles after a brief trip to San Diego with Robert Red Manley, a 25-year-old married salesman she had been dating. Manley stated that he dropped Short off at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles and that Short was there to meet her sister, who was visiting from Boston that afternoon. By some accounts, staff of the Biltmore recalled her having seen Short using the lobby telephone. Shortly after, she was allegedly seen by patrons of the Crown Grill Cocktail Lounge at 754 South Olive Street, approximately 3/8 a mile away from the Biltmore. Do you know anything about the Biltmore Hotel?
I know the one in North Carolina.
Save this for later because I think that this might be on my bucket list now.
I do want to go
All
to the
right.
Biltmore in North Carolina. I think that'd be a cool investigation, but it's so
I'm not familiar
expensive.
with that. Well, we'll have to get more into that one later. All right, so the discovery. On the morning of January 15th, 1947, Short's naked body, severed into 2 pieces, was found in a vacant lot on the west side of South Norton Avenue, midway between Coliseum Street and West 39th Street. At the time, Leimert Park was largely undeveloped. Short's severely mutilated body was completely severed at the waist and drained of blood, leaving her skin a pallid white. Medical examiners determined that she had been dead for around 10 hours prior to the discovery, leaving her time of death either sometime during the evening of January 14th or the early morning hours of January 15th. The body had apparently been washed by the killer. Short's face had been slashed from the corners of her mouth to her ears, kind of like the Joker, creating an effect known as the Glasgow smile. She had several cuts on her thigh and breast where entire portions of flesh had been sliced away. The lower half of her body was positioned a foot away from the upper, and her intestines had been tucked neatly beneath her buttocks. The corpse had been posed with her hands over her head, her elbows bent at right angles, and her legs spread apart. What do you kind of think of that?
Elbows bent at right.
Mm-hmm.
No, like that.
So, hands overhead, elbows bent right, and then legs spread apart.
Mm.
Almost kind of like if you're like tied to a bed, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously it was very purposefully done. That's
Yep, to be sure. I don't think she was killed where they. I don't think she was killed where they found her at. Right?
well, they don't really know a lot of anything, but we'll go into
but
that a little
also
bit more.
but
Well, what I
also
was I'm thinking that she was taken to that location in 2 different pieces.
Mm-hmm. That will make sense based on the theories we're going to discuss.
So, with the way
do we need to pause?
her intestines were tucked up under her bottom half and her arms thrown back like this, it had to be purposefully done.
Yeah.
There's no way. I mean, you're not going to chunk somebody body parts out there and they're just going to land like that.
Right.
Right. This is very purposeful. Whether there's further meaning behind it, I'm sure in somebody's head there was.
So she was found in a vacant lot. How far away from Hollywood Boulevard, you said?
Um, well, I don't know about Hollywood Boulevard.
Or
It
like
says
to the nearest road. Did you say that?
I didn't.
Oh.
So I do have about from the one location that they think she's haunted, that was approximately 5 miles. Um, this says that they saw her at a cocktail lounge, and that's where the miles came in. So it had nothing to do
Oh.
where the park was.
I mean, but like that's just crazy because she had been dead earlier in the evening, right? What it was the next day that they found her.
They found her on the 15th, and they're saying that they think she was dead for at least about 10 hours.
So on the 14th, that evening, that night, she died.
They're not sure. They put time of death between the 14th and 15th.
Yeah, that's just crazy. I mean, that's just it's very purposeful the way that she was laid out there.
Right.
But like I'm wondering like I'm curious if this lot was in like a rural part of the city or if it was in a heavily
Well, it says this was a mainly undeveloped area.
okay.
Pretty
So
isolated.
somebody had time to kind of be out there and have time to do this.
Yeah. That's crazy.
All right. So moving forward, Los Angeles
Sorry,
Herald,
the year was 1940 what?
1947.
7. Okay.
So the Los Angeles Herald Express reporter Aggie Underwood was among the first to arrive and took several photos of the corpse and crime scene. Near the body, detectives located a heel print on the ground amid the tire tracks, and a cement sack container and watery blood was also found nearby. An autopsy of Short's body was performed on January 16, 1947, by Frederick Newbar, the Los Angeles County coroner. Newbar's autopsy report stated that Short was 5 feet 5 inches and weighed 115 pounds and had light blue eyes, brown hair, and badly decayed teeth. There were ligature marks on her ankles, wrists, and neck, and an irregular laceration with superficial tissue loss on her right breast. Newbar also noted superficial lacerations on the right forearm, left upper arm, and lower left side of the chest. The body had been cut completely in half by a technique taught in the 1930s called a hemicorporectomy. The lower half of her body had been removed by transecting the lumbar spine between the second and third lumbar vertebrae, thus severing the intestine at the duodenum or duodenum. I know that's a word that I should know because I talk to my doctor about it all the time and I still say it wrong.
Duodenum.
So Dubar's report noted very little bruising along the incision line, suggesting it had been performed after death. Another gape and laceration measuring 4¼ inches long ran longitudinally from the umbilicus to the suprapubic region. The lacerations on each side of the face, which extended from the corner of the lips, were measured at 3 inches on the right side of the face and 2½ inches on the left side of the face. The skull was not fractured, but there was bruising noted on the front and right side of her scalp. With a small amount of bleeding in the subarachnoid space on the right side, consistent with blows to the head. So this was a very, very violent death.
Yeah.
The cause of death was determined to be hemorrhaging from the lacerations to her face and shock from the blows to the head and face. Newbar, so she was alive when they cut in her face into the kind of Joker smile. I can't even imagine. Newbar noted that Short's anal canal was dilated at 1¾ inches, suggesting that she might have been raped as well. Samples were taken from her body, testing for the presence of sperm, but the results came back negative. Short was identified after her fingerprints were sent to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Her fingerprints were on file from the 1943 arrest from when she was underage drinking. Immediately following Short's identification, reporters from William Randolph's Hearst Los Angeles Examiner contacted her mother, Phoebe Short, in Boston and told her that her daughter had won a beauty contest. It was only after prying as much as personal information as they could from Phoebe that the reporters revealed that her daughter had in fact been murdered. Can you imagine your child has been brutally murdered and they call pretending that she won a beauty contest?
So who called the police? No, who called her?
It says immediately following Short's identification, reporters from William Randolph Hearst Los Angeles Examiner. Now,
So the reporters called and was like, hey, just letting you know, your daughter won a beauty contest.
Yep, so that they can try to get as much information about her. Now, how do you turn around and tell that mother what really has happened after...
Yeah. By the way, she was murdered.
Not only was she murdered, she was, like, dissected.
Yeah. God. Some
So
people have no couth.
That's beyond.
Yeah.
The Examiner also offered to pay Phoebe's airfare and accommodations if she would travel to Los Angeles to help with the police investigation. That was yet another ploy, since the newspaper kept her away from the police and other reporters to protect its scoop. The Examiner and another Hearst newspaper, the Herald Express, later sensationalized the case, with one Examiner article describing the black tailored suit Short was last seen wearing as a tight skirt and a sheer blouse. The media nicknamed her the Black Dahlia and described her as an adventuress who prowled Hollywood Boulevard. Additional newspaper reports, such as one published in Los Angeles Times on January 17th, deemed the murdered a sex fiend slaying. Now, mind you, there's nothing to collaborate any of that.
Right.
They have no history saying she was kind of out and about being promiscuous or anything like that. They actually say that they don't really know much about her at all. So the initial investigation. On January 21st, 1947, a person claiming to be Short's killer placed a phone call to the office of James Richardson, the editor of the Examiner, congratulating Richardson on the newspaper's coverage of the case and stating he planned on eventually turning himself in, but not before allowing police to pursue him further. Additionally, the caller told Richardson to expect some souvenirs of Beth Short in the mail. On January 24th, a suspicious manila envelope was discovered addressed to the Los Angeles Examiner and other Los Angeles papers, with individual words that had been cut and pasted from newspaper clippings. Additionally, a large message on the face of the envelope read, quote unquote, "Here is Dahlia's belongings, letter to follow." Quote, end. The envelope contained Short's birth certificate, business cards, photographs, names written on pieces of paper, and an address book with the name Mark Hansen embossed on the cover. The packet had been carefully cleaned with gasoline, similarly to Short's body, which led police to suspect the packet had been sent directly from her killer.
So, was it the original copy of the birth certificate and all that?
It doesn't say. It just says that it's her birth certificate. Even if it's a copy and business cards, photographs, I mean, unless it was somebody who had been stalking her for some time, collecting either that or they.
But it's her personal effects.
Right. And like I said, it appears that she had been cleaned with gasoline herself, and then this. So,
what?
They cleaned her and this package with gasoline.
Okay.
So despite efforts to clean the packet, several partial fingerprints were lifted from the envelope and sent to the FBI for testing. However, the prints were compromised in transit and thus could not be properly analyzed. The same day the packet was received by the Examiner, a handbag and a black suede shoe were reported to have been seen on top of a garbage can in the alley a short distance from Norton Avenue, 2 miles from the crime scene. The items were recovered by police, but they had also been wiped clean with gasoline, destroying any fingerprints. I had never even heard of that before. Had you?
No.
On March 14th, an apparent suicide note, scrawled in pencil on a bit of paper, was found tucked in a shoe in a pile of men's clothing by the ocean's edge at the foot of Breeze Avenue in Venice. The note read, "To whom it may concern. I have waited for the police to capture me for the Black Dahlia killing, but have not. I am too much of a coward to turn myself in. So this is the best way out for me. I couldn't help myself for that or this. Sorry. Mary. The pile of clothing was first seen by a beach caretaker who reported the discovery to a lifeguard captain, John Dillon. Dillon immediately notified Captain L.E. Christensen of West Los Angeles Police Station. The clothes included a coat and trousers of blue herringbone tweed, a brown and white t-shirt, white jockey shorts, tan socks, and tan moccasin leisure shoes, size about 8. The clothes gave no clue about the identity of the owner. Now, this one, they're not saying anything about gasoline or whatever, so I'm kind of thinking that over the time, because again, remember, they had 150 suspects.
Right.
Other people actually have tried to take credit for this, so I'm sure that they were receiving notes left and right
Like
from
copycats.
not even just copycats, people who just want to take credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about how big this case was. You know what I mean? Like, if you're taking credit for this, you're going to be infamous.
Yeah.
Police quickly deemed Mark Hansen, the owner of the address book found in the packet, a suspect. Hansen was a wealthy local nightclub and theater owner and an acquaintance at whose home Short had stayed with friends. According to some sources, Hansen also confirmed that the purse and shoe discovered in the alley were in fact Short's. Ann Tote, Short's friend and roommate, told investigators that Short had recently rejected sexual advances from Hansen and suggested it as a potential motive for him to kill her. However, he was cleared of suspicion in the case. In addition to Hansen, the Los Angeles Police Department interviewed over 150 men in the ensuing weeks whom they believed to be potential suspects. Manley, who had been one of the last people to see Short alive, was also investigated but was cleared of suspicion after passing numerous polygraphic examinations. Police also interviewed several persons found listed in Hansen's address book, included Martin Lewis, who had been an acquaintance of Short's. Lewis was able to provide an alibi for the date of Short's murder, and he was in Portland, Oregon, visiting his dying father-in-law. But they're saying, like, so they got this book and possessions that were at this gentleman's home. But think of, like, if you're kind of a nightclub owner and a theater owner, like, he's probably got men and people in and out of his properties all the time. Like, anybody could have just been there and, like, snatched up somebody who was an admirer of her.
Or somebody that hated him tried to frame him.
Yeah, that too. And I mean, I guess that's why this case has been so unsolved. Like, you can fall down a rabbit hole for days and days and days. So, a total of 750 investigators from the LAPD and other departments worked on the case during its initial stages, including 400 sheriff's deputies and 250 California State Patrol officers. Yeah. Various locations were searched for potential evidence, including storm drains throughout Los Angeles, abandoned structures, and various sites along the Los Angeles River. But the searches yielded no further evidence. City Councilman Lloyd G. Davis posted a $10,000, which is equivalent now to $131,058 as of 2022, reward for information leading police to Short's killer. After the announcement of the reward, various persons came forward with confessions, most of which police dismissed as false. Several of the false confessors were charged with obstruction of justice. On January 26th, another letter was received by the examiner. This time it was handwritten, which read, "Here it is. Turning in Wednesday, January 29th, 10 a.m. Had my fun at police. Black Dahlia Avenger." The letter also named a location in which the supposed killer would turn himself in. Police waited at the location on the morning of January 29th, but the alleged killer did not appear. Instead, at 1 p.m., the examiner's office received another cut and pasted letter which read, quote unquote, "Have changed my mind. You would not give me a square deal. Dahlia killing was justified." What do you think that means?
Read that again.
It says, quote unquote, "Have changed my mind. You would not give me a square deal. Dahlia killing was justified."
What? So, like, well, you weren't going to get a deal anyway because you brutally killed this woman. So, See, he agrees.
Not you.
But also, like, at this point, he's just toying with the police and her family.
This letter's even from the same person.
Right.
The letter talking about a square deal, that might not even have anything to do with the police.
It might be a clue or something.
Media is saying they're going to rip him up.
A play in the theater, a part in a play or something.
I don't know. That's it. I can see where you could go down the rabbit hole with this one.
Well, there's more. Let's keep going.
Here we go. Back down the rabbit hole.
The graphic nature of the crime and the subsequent letters received by the Examiner had resulted in a media circus surrounding Short's murder. Both local and national publications covered the story heavily, many of which reprinted sensationalistic reports suggesting that Short had been tortured for hours prior to her death. The information, however, was false, yet police allowed the reports to circulate as to conceal Short's true cause of death, cerebral hemorrhage, from the public. Which makes sense because, that will help find the false, accusations, whatever else. So further reports about her personal life were publicized, including details about her alleged decline of Hanson's sexual advances. Additionally, a stripper who was an acquaintance of Short's told police that she quote unquote liked to get guys worked up over her, but she'd leave them hanging dry. This led some reporters, namely the Herald Express, and detectives looking into the possibility that Short was a lesbian and began questioning employees and patrons of gay bars in Los Angeles. This claim, however, remained unsubstantiated. The Herald Express also received several letters from the purported killer, again made with cut and pasted clip-ins, one of which read, quote unquote, "I will give up on the Dahlia Killian if I get 10 years. Don't try to find me." What do you think of that one?
Don't try and find me. Do not.
Yeah, that doesn't even make any sense. And based on just as we get further, I don't think these letters actually are from anybody involved with the case.
Yeah,
I think the person's more educated. They'd write something more profound.
Well, I mean, the fact that yes, obviously the person's more educated. I mean, the clear fact that they, in the way that they
surgically cut her in half,
but then also there was each
gasoline, no one had to destroy fingertips.
Yeah, but like each little cut and everything that they did was calculated.
Mm-hmm.
There's not like it wasn't like I think that there is I don't even think it was it wasn't a random killing. Like it wasn't random. It was somebody that knew her that like this is just based off of the 30 minutes that I've listened to this.
How personal the mutilation is.
There is something very, very personal about it. Like you're not going to just go up to Joe Schmo on the street and like cut him in half and give him a Joker smile. I mean,
and that much time to actually take the time to pose them and clean them.
Yeah. Like there is a sense of, and I'm speaking based off of some other serial killer type stuff that I've heard. There is a sense of respect for the body to pose it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like there,
you have a lack of respect too to leave it uncovered, naked.
I mean, I don't mean respect in like I respect you. It's like they are getting something out of it. They are getting, I don't know if they're getting their jollies off with it or if it's just, I don't know, but there is some sort of passion that has gone into it.
Right. I agree. On February 1st, the Los Angeles Daily News reported that the case had, quote unquote, run into a stone wall, with no new leads for investigators to pursue. The Examiner continued to run stories on the murder and the investigation, which was front page news for 35 days following the discovery of the body. When interviewed, lead investigator Captain Jack Donahue told the press that he believed Short's murder had taken place in a remote building or a shack on the outskirts of Los Angeles, and that her body had been transported into the city where it was disposed of. Like you said, that most likely didn't happen there.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the precise cuts and dissection of Short's body, the LAPD looked into the possibility that the murderer had been a surgeon, doctor, or someone with medical knowledge. In mid-February 1947, the LAPD served warrants to the University of Southern California Medical School, which was located near the site where the body had been discovered, requesting a complete list of the program's students. The university agreed so long as the students' identities remained private. Background checks were conducted but yielded no results. So, medical school, being that it's close, good place to start.
What if it was somebody that, what if she had gone, I don't know, what if she had gone to Hollywood to become an actor. So what if this person was also an aspiring actor and she had gone to, had made, they, whoever it is, had overheard her talking to somebody about, because plastic surgery wasn't really a thing, but it was an up and coming thing at that time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what if he was a flunky, he flunked out of med school, whoever, because we don't know, but they flunked out of med school, and at that time it would have to be a he because they weren't really allowing women to get into med school, but they flunked out of med school, and they stalked this girl for a while. Maybe they became infatuated with her and they stalked her, and finally this guy's like, all right, you know what? Here we go. I don't know.
Well, it's got to be somebody with firsthand knowledge.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Because there really is, back then, there was no other way for them to know how to do this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and just an FYI, and it's something that I'm not going to share in the show notes because I just don't think we should. But people can freely Google. If you Google Elizabeth Short's body, you can see the images. They're not hiding anything.
Yeah, no.
That's really disturbing.
Sorry, pause to Google.
Pause to Google. They're black and white images, but they're very, disturbing. You can clearly see her torso, like the open spread legs. The way that it's posed. They're trying to embarrass her. Everything is open for display, and it looks like, I don't know if it's dirt or if it looks like they maybe did some cutting around one of the nipples.
Yeah. Wow.
But let's move along. So by the spring of 1947, Short's murder had become a cold case with few new leads. Sergeant Finis Brown was one of the lead detectives on the case. He blamed the press for compromising the investigation through journalists' probing of details and unverified reporting. In September 1949, a grand jury convened to discuss inadequacies in the LAPD's homicide unit based on their failure to solve numerous murders, especially those of women and children, in the previous several years, Short's being one of them. In the aftermath of the grand jury, further investigation was done on Short's past, with detectives tracing her movements between Massachusetts, California, and Florida, and also interviewed people who knew her in Texas and New Orleans. However, the interviews yielded no useful information in the murder. The notoriety of Short's murder has spurred a large number of confessions over the years, many of which have been deemed false. During the initial investigation into her murder, police received a total of 60 confessions, most made by men. Since the time, over 500 people have confessed to the crime, some of whom had not even been born at the time of her death.
Oh,
Sergeant
jeez.
John P. St. John, a detective who worked the case until his retirement, stated, quote unquote, "It is amazing how many people offer up a relative as the killer." What are your thoughts on that?
Uh, I don't know. It's like, what? I mean, I'm glad that the cops are actually doing the research, because if it was today's day and age, you have one person confess and they're like, oh, lock them up. You know?
Well, at least now we have so many more resources with DNA and whatnot as well.
Yeah. But I'm glad that they were doing their. It sucks because it's still an unsolved case, but like I'm glad that these cops were doing their due diligences and questioning everybody instead of just taking the first confession that they got.
You know, if this was my family member, okay, with the technology today, I would propose to have her exhumed
Mm-hmm.
to see if any kind of DNA could be pulled from under her fingernails or what could, because back then they didn't clean the bodies like they do now.
Yeah. Well, and I mean too, the whole DNA thing was it was up and coming at that point, but it was still very primitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so they probably didn't even think to, check. I mean, today you can check and see like what you ate for breakfast, where that cow came from, and all of that, like all of that stuff. Um, but I mean, it's just I don't know. I agree with you. I think if I if that was my family member, I would probably see about getting them exhumed.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know that there's any family left at this point in time.
Yeah.
So at the time, they were also looking at other theories with related crimes. At the time, there were murders classified as the lipstick murders, the Cleveland torso murders, and the lone woman murders, but they couldn't find anything to prove either any of those theories. So it does seem that there are several locations that people believe are haunted by the spirit of Elizabeth Short. So I want to go over those and let's see, based on kind of what we know and what we hear about these locations, if we can kind of draw an opinion.
Okay.
All right. The first location I read that people claim to see her spirit is the Millennium Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. Short was known to frequent the hotel with friends and also took Spanish lessons in the lobby, but most notably, it was potentially the last place she was seen alive on January 9th, 1947. So the Biltmore is nestled in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, and it is one of the most iconic of the Hollywood haunts. That's why I'm surprised we don't really know about it. So I kind of want to do a deep dive into a little bit more of this location later.
Yeah.
But thanks to its architectural character, history, and impressive size, it's a 70,000 square foot Art Deco marvel that features Spanish and Italian Renaissance styles and Moorish detailing throughout, complete with lavish, high beamed, and coffered ceilings. Until the mid 20th century, the Biltmore was considered LA's most elegant hotel. In fact, it hosted the Academy Awards in the 1930s and 40s and was also a popular destination for young Hollywood hopefuls, including murder victim Elizabeth Short. So let's go back to her last appearance. So that's on January 9th, 1947. She had asked a new acquaintance, Red Manley, to drive her from San Diego, where she'd been staying for the final month of her life, to the bus station in downtown LA. When he wasn't comfortable dropping her off there alone, she requested he take her to the Biltmore Hotel, where she told him she would be meeting her older sister, Virginia. Elizabeth was never planning on meeting her sister there, so we can only speculate as to why she said that, but most people speculate she used the excuse to exit an awkward social situation. So again, he was one of the people looked into, and he was cleared, but he does seem kind of a sus, being one of the last people to see her, and she was trying to get out of the situation. But I
Right.
don't know what kind of background he had as far as, would he be able to pull off the brutality of the murder the way that it was. So in the many decades since Elizabeth's that's worded very weird. Over the decades, Elizabeth's ghost has frequently been spotted in the Biltmore. Guests report seeing a pale woman with dark hair wearing a sheer black or gray 1940s style dress. She's usually spotted entering or leaving rooms on the 10th or 11th floors or wandering the halls. Author Ginny Myers saying accidentally caught a hair-raising snap of a spirit selfie she snapped for her son, and I have a link to that image that we'll put in the show notes. Hang on, I'm gonna see if I open this chat on our thing. Can I send it
Yeah,
to you guys?
you can actually hit share screen.
I don't want to do that because I have 500 things.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on. All right, see if you ladies can click on that and tell me what you think when you're looking.
Pulling it up now. Oh, wow.
You see that to the back right of the. I was kind of wishing there was like a plus button so I can zoom in.
Yeah.
That's for later, but definitely creepy.
Definitely weird.
Okay,
But
Is that Deborah?
here's the thing about this picture is the image itself, the person is like a sepia tone. Like hold on, let me see if I
That
can.
might just be bad coloring from being in a hotel. You know how the lighting
Yeah.
is in hotels.
where did you send that to?
It's in. Oh, you're not on a regular computer. There's like a little chat bar. Hang on, Deborah. Let me.
Oh, never mind.
You got it.
I'm gonna send that to myself and see if I can enlarge it.
Zoom it, clean it.
Yeah.
Let us know if you do.
That's somebody wearing pants. Like a brown outfit.
See, from my screen, because I can't zoom in or anything, I can really only clearly see. Like I can see a head and a top of a body. I might be able to see legs, but I can't even say for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, Erin, let us know what you find if you try to clean that photo up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna play around with it.
All right. So, also, several TripAdvisor commenters have also reported cases of paranormal activity from one guest who woke up with a figure hovering over her in the middle of the night to a couple claiming to hear voices with 1940s transatlantic accents in the room over, which was empty at the time. On top of that, bartenders have reported apparitions passing behind them on a daily basis. Whether it's Elizabeth's ghost or someone else's spirit haunting the Biltmore, we will never know for sure. Indeed, whether Elizabeth was seen alive and well after she left the Biltmore Hotel remains a highly debated subject amongst journalists and researchers today. Now, I also found another article on morticianinthekitchen.com, and they report numerous guests and staff members have reported encountering a spectral figure resembling Elizabeth Short. She appears as a ghostly presence, dressed in black, her haunting eyes filled with an eternal sadness. Some claim to have glimpsed her in the hotel's mirrors or caught a fleeting glimpse of her in corners of their vision, only for her to vanish into thin air. The atmosphere around her is said to be heavy with sorrow, as if her restless spirit still seeks justice and resolution. These alleged ghostly sightings have fueled speculation and the development of various theories surrounding Elizabeth's murder. Some believe that her spirit continues to wander the halls of the Biltmore, unable to find peace until her killer is brought to justice. Others interpret her ghostly presence as a plea for remembrance. a reminder of the tragic fate that befell her and the countless other victims of unsolved crimes. I also watched a YouTube video called Did I Catch the Black Dahlia's Ghost on Camera? We can put that in the show resources so other people can watch it, but they do have a spirit box and some K2 meters. And the spirit box gets very clearly a brand new cut smile.
Oh.
And as we know, she had the incisions on both sides of her mouth. So that is kind of eerie. So we'll put that in, and we can watch that at the end of this if you want.
Yeah.
Or I can put the link in there now if you want to pause. But we'll include that for people to check out. So that's the Biltmore. She is also said to be at the Soden House. Have you heard of the Soden House?
I don't think so.
First of all, take a minute and Google it. It is gorgeous.
Odon?
Sowden, Soden House. So the Soden House was also once the home of the notorious Black Dahlia murder suspect, Dr. George Hodel.
I have heard of this one. Sorry.
Yeah, we need to go there.
Yeah.
An esteemed Los Angeles physician, Dr. George Hodel was never actually named as a suspect at the time of the investigation. However, his son, a retired Los Angeles homicide detective, later claimed that his father had murdered Elizabeth Short in the basement of the Soden house in January 1947. On a side note, in a season 9 episode of Ghost Hunters, where they investigate the Soden house, the son also claims that the father has killed maybe 9 other women in the house. He
Was
thinks
it Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures?
The TAPS team.
Okay.
They were Ghost Adventures was there too, but I didn't bother watching that one. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares about that one.
So I'd watch the TAPS team.
I pulled up a website here.
Okay.
And it is loading that website. A big dahlia comes up on the front page.
Mm-hmm.
What is a dahlia?
It's a flower.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
All right. So Dr. Hodel's son, Steve, argued in his 2003 book, Black Dahlia Avenger, that the Black Dahlia victim, Elizabeth Short, was actually tortured, murdered, and dissected by his father in the basement of the Soden house in January 1947. They actually did a second investigation in 2013 with another detective and Steve, and they brought in a dog. I think his name was Buster.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be, he was trained to smell decomposing things, and the dog was getting presence. Despite claims that the cadaver dogs have indicated the presence of human remains on the property, no excavations have been made as of October 2015. Want to guess why?
Why?
It's a historical site. You can't.
Oh, no.
What you think about that?
Oh, no. When did it become a historical site?
That I don't know, but this investigation didn't go on until 2013. They started investigating a little bit in early 2000 and didn't go anywhere, and then again in 2013. Let me see if I actually... All right, so I'll get to you why it is registered as historical in a minute. So while he did state he believed she was tortured in the basement, he believed that she was actually cut in half in the master bathroom bathtub and then dragged downstairs. This way the body could let the blood out. And so he thinks he cut her in half in the bathtub and then physically dragged her down to the basement and tortured her more.
Wait a minute. Wait. Cut her in half in the bathroom upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Dragged her downstairs.
Well, then she has all those other cuts and stuff. So remember, she's missing pieces of skin and whatnot.
Right, but earlier didn't you say that on one of the things that you were reading that no, that was they cut her smile while she was still alive, right?
Mm-hmm. So he could have done that, and who knows? That might have been in the bathroom. That could have been anywhere. Remember, these are all just people's theories and speculations. So
in the bathroom, she was already dead by the time they got downstairs.
Yeah, but then maybe he went downstairs and he continued the process of cutting pieces off and Maybe hiding him in the basement. Who knows what he was doing? I mean, if he was killing other people, who knows if he had somebody else there at that time? He might have been making one person watch while he was torturing another. Like, this is really just nobody knows.
True.
So hang on. So again, Hodel was never formally charged in the crime. He came to wider attention after his death when he was accused by his son, LAPD homicide detective Steve Hodel, of killing Short and committing several additional murders. Prior to the Dahlia case, he was suspected but not charged in the death of his secretary, Ruth Spalding, and was accused of raping his own daughter, Tamar, but acquitted. So this guy was a monster.
Yeah.
God.
He fled the country several times and lived in the Philippines between 1950 and 1990. Additionally, Steve Hodel has cited his father's training as a surgeon as circumstantial evidence. In 2003, it was revealed in notes from the 1949 grand jury report that investigators had wiretapped Hodel's home and obtained recorded conversation of him with an unidentified visitor saying, quote unquote, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, they couldn't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary because she's dead. They thought there was something fishy. Anyway, now they may have figured it out. Killed her. Maybe I did kill my secretary." End quote. So, what do you think about that?
I mean, sorry, I was looking at the prices of the bill. They're not bad. $140 a night. But this guy just looks like a creep. Like, he looks like your typical, like, oh, who is that guy?
What's the guy's name?
This guy is George Hodel. But there was a guy, who made the resort that was like the cancer care resort. And in reality, like, he would have people come and stay there and pay all this money, and in reality, he was doing nothing to cure them, but like doing testing and stuff on them.
There's some sick people out there.
But I mean, this guy just looks like he's got some inner demons going on.
Damn, he had four wives.
He had what?
4 wives. 2 of them had the same name. No, okay, maybe 3 wives.
I mean, the house though is beautiful.
Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. So, and the reason it was on the historic registry is because it was actually designed in 1926 by renowned architect Lloyd Wright, who was Frank Lloyd Wright's son. The Soden House is a meticulously renovated 6,000 square foot neo-Mayan mansion in the heart of modern Hollywood. The house is rectangular in shape with 4 connective wings looking in on an enclosed central courtyard. Infamous for its distinctive design and colorful history, the Soden House has hosted everything from photo shoots and nonprofit events to films and TV shows. There are even suspicions that the house might hold the key, of course, to the murder. So now for me to find out about some of the hauntings that were happening here, I kind of did some searching. And of course, you know me, I watched some movies and watched some YouTube and looked for everything I could possibly find. And actually, what was kind of most helpful was the TAPS episode. It was very interesting. And again, that's season 9 episode called Hollywood Horror Stories, if anybody would like to watch that. So there they meet with George's son, Steve, who's the retired officer. And they also met with a woman named Rita, who also spent some time living in the house as a child. And they both have had experiences there. So Steve recalled his sister experience in an apparition of a woman in the basement, as well as other paranormal events, footsteps, feeling presences. He doesn't talk too much about that part because you almost seem like the guy's a little bit obsessed with solving these murders that his father committed. There was more a woman named Rita who was talking, and Rita gave the investigators a tour of the home while she was discussing some of the claims with them. And in the basement, it was reported that people see shadow figures and an apparition of a female torso. In the hallway or the corridor upstairs, people express an uneasy feeling, hearing footsteps and dragging sounds. And in the master bedroom, there are reports of shadow figures as well as an apparition that looms over the bed, much like at the Biltmore. Somebody was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So during the investigation, they did see a pretty cool anomaly on the hall camera that appears to be half of a figure. It's kind of small in size, so they're thinking maybe it could be half of a torso. It's kind of moving in and out of the screen. And go back and watch the episode because it is kind of the anomaly is pretty cool. They got some cool evidence. So they did have two of the team members go up and check it out, and there was absolutely nothing up there, but you can very clearly see it. They also heard someone walking behind them at some points with the footsteps. They caught movement in the basement with the laser grid lights, as well as a REM pod that was going off, as you know how when we asked the questions and it was kind of going off like in perfect sync with their questions.
What episode was it? You said what number?
It doesn't have a number. It's just season 9, and it's titled Hollywood Horror Stories. They also got 2 cool EVPs where they let Rita listen and ask them to tell her what she heard from it. So the first one, she says it's clearly it's a child's voice, and it sounded like it's George.
Mm.
So George Hodel did not die on the property, but it was his home, and if that's where he was attracted, where he was possibly murdering various people, that may be where his spirit wants to go. They also got another EVP of a female voice that sounded like, "Do you know my name?" or "Do you even know my name?" But something along the lines of, "Do you know my name?"
Mm.
I don't know if that may be a female spirit who knows she was murdered but is lost.
Yeah. Huh.
I can literally go down a rabbit hole on this case forever. I mean, as far as wanting to know actually what happened to her and which one of those locations could her body actually be.
Right.
I'm not sure if we'll ever know where the spirit of Elizabeth's body may remain, but I do believe both of the locations are home to spirits, and I would definitely like to check both of them out now, add them to the bucket list.
Yeah, for sure. Add them to the paranormal bucket list.
Yeah, which just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
It's like a mile long. We need to win the lottery.
But all that being said, yeah, everybody needs to win. We need like a group.
A group win.
Yeah. So what do you think about the 2 locations and where her spirit may have gone, considering what happened to her?
I mean, I would like to think, this is what I would like to think. With situations like that where it's so brutal and just, I mean, I don't know, we kind of touched on it like in past episodes, but like, I would like to think that in the brutality of this murder and the torture of this murder, I would like to think that she immediately passed on.
Right. But she may be holding out to see justice done for her, or
she
her case
could
solved,
be.
or
She could be. And which is just sad in itself because it's gonna be an endless cycle for her. Like if her spirit truly is haunting these locations and haunting the locations that she was drawn to in life or however, it's sad because she's constantly having to relive that trauma while she's waiting for justice to be found. I don't know. I mean, but I do think that, the way that the 2 locations kind of coincide with similar experiences is kind of interesting.
do you think, And I think we might have kind of briefly discussed this before, but didn't really get too much into it. Can a spirit hop around? Like when I pass, if I have good memories of my home and my grandmother's home, am I allowed to visit both locations, or am I
I mean,
tied?
no, I don't think you're tied, because why would my grandmother show up at the opera house?
So, because that's an attachment to you. That's not an attachment to the place.
True.
If she's not attaching to a place, could it be possible she goes to the Biltmore because they said she was there? She took Spanish lessons there. Like she was hanging out. Like she has a happy place, and then she has a place she's looking for justice.
True. Yeah.
I think they could. I don't think they would be. I think it might depend on the situation as to whether they are deemed to be stuck at one place or not.
Right.
And well, and I mean, think about it. Think of all the investigations that we've done where it will be talking to somebody in one instance, the same person for a good 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden they're gone.
Right.
And we might not talk to them again. And then come back to that same location another time, and we might speak with them again, and then they'll leave again. I mean, I definitely think spirit hops around. I think spirit can. I think spirit is drawn to certain locations with that bring memories that they what if spirit feeds on memories? I don't
So
know.
then she very well could possibly be at both locations.
Yeah.
Because I mean, both evidences. I mean, they think they see half kind of body apparitions, so that could be her. But again, if they think there's 9 other people in
Yeah.
that basement, who knows really what you're getting?
Yeah.
There.
And so, same thing too is like, would say it was this guy, right? And there was 9 other people in there. Would I'm wondering if he did it and there's 9 other people buried in the basement somewhere, did he do it in the same fashion? I mean, like, for that to be his call sign, if he did, I mean,
Well,
that's
figure one. They said he was suspected of killing his secretary, but they didn't say whether they found her body or not. So
yeah, that's
secretary could be one. And I mean, obviously we've seen what he's capable if he did do Elizabeth Short, but I mean, also accused of raping his own daughter. I mean,
yeah, that's I don't know. I don't know. I hope that one day justice will come out, but I hate that for her. I mean, I hate that for her, but
Wonder what his reasoning would be.
because he's psychotic.
I mean, what if it's what if it sounds to me like he has a power trip or had a power trip.
Well, here's the thing, and this is just me, and from a lot of studying and watching a homicide documentary, because y'all know I'm weird. There was personal feelings attached to this. You don't go that in depth without having some kind of a personal attachment to that person.
Right. So what if
I sometimes figure they don't ever explain either how he may have known her. Like maybe.
Well, what if
He was
he the married man that she had the affair with?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Well, okay. So what if they frequented some of the same locations, right?
Just maybe the nightclub.
Maybe they frequented some of these locations. He made passes at her. She turned him down.
That's what I'm thinking.
And he was just like, you know what?
Or
I'm going to show
did
you.
she come to him for a job or something? Because he says that he makes it sound like he killed the secretary because the secretary knew what he did. So how did the secretary know who she was?
So the secretary died after.
Actually, it says he was a surgeon, right?
Yeah.
But when I Google what kind of surgeon he was. It says he was an infamous gynecologist. Could she have come in asking for an abortion in the 40s? I mean,
Yeah.
What if all of the women that he supposedly killed had come in looking for that? And then he's like, yeah, you know what? I can take care of you. Meet me at this location on this day and time. I'll get that taken care of for you. But, like, what if it was a way, like, again, going back to the power trip thing, like, what if he was like, you know what? Women are only good for one thing. And if you're not going to do that thing, then what good are you here on this earth?
I think he just didn't like women. I mean, he's just second one included. I mean, if he has no value for his own daughter,
Yeah.
he either is disgusted by women or, like you said, like an egomaniac where all women are there to serve him. I don't even know. I couldn't even imagine what's in this guy's head.
Either he saw his dad brutalize and mistreat his mama for him to pick up on this, or did his mama abuse him?
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm going to do a quick scan through on his Wikipedia.
Could you imagine if we solved the murder right here on the podcast?
He graduated high school at 15. He was a very smart guy. He was probably just an egomaniac.
See, I mean, and these things, the things that happened to her.
Wait, hold on. So hold on. This might be. He was forced to leave the university after 1 year, due in part to a sex scandal involving a professor's wife. He had impregnated the woman and wanted to raise their child together, but she refused. The affair between Hodel and the woman caused her marriage to fall apart. So, I mean, he really may just hate women. And so what? So think he becomes a gynecologist or whatever, is doing surgeries when he didn't want to lose his first child, which he probably I mean, that was probably a girl, so maybe it was a good thing, so he didn't molest more of his children.
Yeah.
Let's see. With Ray and some other surrealists, he shared an interest in sadomasochism with the young men of Hollywood scene. He shared a fondness for partying, drinking, and womanizing.
Wait a minute.
He was into hurting people.
I know what that means, but didn't this say guys?
With two other people. He was hanging out and partying and womanizing with these other men.
So what
Okay.
if these other men came into his function too? I don't know.
And they're famous people. So befriending photographer Man Ray and film director John Huston, Huston, and their associates. So that's who he was going out drinking and partying with.
So why didn't the cops question this guy?
The friends,
No, the Hodel guy.
they did question him. They just couldn't prove anything. He wasn't a prime suspect. He was on the list, but they just didn't have enough.
He sounds pretty prime to me.
Well, now, as of today, he is considered the prime suspect, but he was not at the time.
Oh man.
I still think she needs to be exhumed and scanned for DNA.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, remind you, they said that she was cleaned with gasoline. They couldn't get any fingerprints or anything. So, her blood was letted out. I don't know what kind of condition, I don't know. I don't even know. It doesn't say what they did with her body. Hang on. I think I did see where she was buried.
She was buried.
Let's see. Where is.
God, this is
I think she's buried in
crazy.
California. She's buried in Mountain View Cemetery. Let's see. Has she ever been exhumed?
Y'all listening to this episode, let us know what you guys think, because I mean, that
It's just crazy.
it's so crazy. It's so crazy to me because I don't know. Y'all just let us know. See, I've never really been one for like true crime or anything like that.
Girl, I listen to true crime every day.
But I don't know. This might actually like get me into it. Like I might fall down a rabbit hole with this one.
Well, I can give you some easy podcasts to start with if you would like to move into the true crime.
Whoop whoop. So, got anything else for us?
Nope. Nope.
So, do you think this was vengeful or a crime of passion? Or jealousy or a crime of
I
passion?
don't think. Sorry, I don't think that like. I don't think it was done out of. I think that it was.
I bet you it was
He
done on like a drug binge. The more I
he
look at these photos,
he wanted her to suffer. There was like
yeah, but not only does he want to suffer, she's spread eagle and he literally cut a smile into her face. Like, you're going to lay there and like it.
exactly.
Now, remember, they didn't find sperm, but they do believe that she was raped anally.
Yeah.
So they don't say whether that was before or after. But when I'm looking at the pictures, I'm kind of thinking like she turned him down at some point, some way, whatever, or he was just like, I'm taking what I want and you're going to like it.
Yeah.
Like, he legit put a smile on her face. When you look at it, it's not just slit, it's slit. You can see it's slit up.
Right. Yeah.
So, do you think a woman could have done it?
No, I don't think a woman's strong enough to cut him in half like that.
Yeah.
You're going to need some strength. And back then, as
Well,
Erin said, women weren't going to medical school. So is a woman going to have that kind of skill?
but also like you have to be able to carry it from wherever you do it because it's pretty
Right.
safe to assume she didn't die where she was found.
Right.
So you'd have to be super strong or have accomplices to be able to get her from point A to point B. Unless a woman did organize it and say, like,
I don't think so. I don't think a woman could be that brutal. I mean, because of the way that she's posed and found,
yeah,
I just don't think it would be a woman.
yeah,
I mean, she was a petite little girl, basically. So, I mean, she was 115 pounds. So it wouldn't be said that a woman couldn't really, I mean, especially if she's in two parts, drag her.
yeah,
But just based on the photos and the posing and the smile, I don't think it was a woman.
yeah. I know. I think it was Homeboy.
Yeah, I do think it was George. George would
Yeah,
be my best guess. I
yeah,
mean, he's a seriously disturbed man.
yeah. I mean, just looking at his picture gives me the creeps.
But I wonder where the family was, because the son says so he lived in the house for 5 years from the time he was 5 to 10. So if multiple murders and people are being buried in the basement, like, where's this family all the time?
Sorry, now I'm like looking behind me.
We'll read the book. I might have to read the son's book.
Yeah.
I think I have to put that in my Amazon cart.
Oh
There's,
goodness.
well, I mean, the house is huge, humongous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you go to the house's website, was it John Sowden's house?
Yeah,
And
you could just put in Sowden House, and that the personal website comes up with all the pictures. You can see.
yeah,
So it's
you
kind
do
of
a
like a
first,
star. Like, it has a central courtyard with different wings.
yeah, you
I mean,
can
there's all sorts of privacy.
find that house.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was huge.
But I'm thinking if my husband was, raping, mutilating, and burying people in the basement, I don't care how big the house is. I'd like to think I'd know.
Right. I
Well,
mean, at
this
some point.
You're nosy.
this was back in the 40s too, and when a husband told his wife, "Don't come in here," she didn't go in there.
Right.
Good thing I wasn't alive in the 40s. I wouldn't have survived.
Either they'd have killed me.
Lord have mercy. Whew, that was a heavy one. That's a good one. It's a heavy one.
I kind of enjoy adding the little murder aspect into it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it says about me, but I might do a little bit more murder mysteries.
Yeah. Murder hauntings. Oh goodness. Yeah. That was a
If we go that way, I got one I want to touch on.
You can throw in there whatever you want. But that being said, next week is your week. Do you have a topic for us?
We're going to slip right on back down into New Orleans.
Okay. I love New Orleans.
Nola.
We're going to learn a little bit about Delphine Lalaurie.
Love it.
Delphine.
I'm excited for that one. I've been waiting. That's on my list. One of my locations. I think I could just spend a month in New Orleans. We should take a month trip.
Again, we need to win the lottery. If you'd like to sponsor a month,
how hard are you playing?
If you'd like to sponsor a month-long trip to New Orleans, let us know in the comments.
We'll put your business all over our shirts. It'll be all over. We'll make YouTube.
Absolutely. Southern Exchange.
We'll run a podcast episode out there. Give you all the credit.
Yeah, this episode's sponsored by Well, before we go, I want to give a quick shout out to one of our followers that is really awesome. She actually made the first purchase from our store.
Woo! Yay!
She got a hoodie, so and she's already got it. She had it like right before Christmas. So Miss Helen Davis, thank you. Shout out.
Thank you, Helen.
Shout out to Helen. So she actually lives not in South Carolina. So she found us. She loves our podcast. So
and we love you, Helen.
Yes. So thank you, Helen. But yeah, y'all let us know what you think in the comments. Who do you think committed this crime? What do you think about the hauntings? And yeah, there we got it. I got to go decompress now. But
I actually have pulled up to watch when we get off of this the Black Dahlia haunting.
There you go. Well,
I think I tried watching. I gotta look which one that was because I watched like a couple of them, and a couple of them weren't free.
A couple of them what?
Were not free, so I didn't get to watch all of them.
This one's free. The Black Dahlia story, I think it was, that one weren't free. So I skipped it.
I think I know which one this is.
Well, there y'all have it. Lots of movie recommendations, TV show recommendations.
We should start a movie podcast next.
Yeah. And until next time, y'all come back now, you hear? Bye.
Good night. New Year.